this podcast for the 6th Sunday after Trinity in Churchland, Sunday the 11th of July 2021. We're looking at the sad death of John the Baptist today, a bit of Mark chapter 6. But first, the news. July, August and September, we are changing the way that we do things in line with sort of some of the small rule changes. Myself and Glenda have sat down and thought, right, what can we do? So we're going to have 2 church hall communions per month now, and we're going to start them later at 10 o'clock, so our biggest and safest space. We removed the Sunday Zoom interactive worship because it wasn't really growing, keeping the Zoom copies though. We've added a messy church long for the end of July, and there's going to be a Church in Wales festival in Pencoed Primary School in August. More about that when we found out about it. We're continuing with the Just Breathe services in the church hall. We're going to have some outdoor services as well. We're going to have an outdoor 1662 Eucharist service in Llanillid and maybe a sing-along in Halekew. Now the pattern is based on the cruel fact that COVID is still around and could cause one or both of us to have to isolate at any time. I mean, 2 of mine were isolating the other day. One of them seems to have got COVID-19 now. It's still there. It's still there. We've got to be careful. And the indoor 2-metre Welsh Government social distancing rule, it's still here, and it might even be here till Christmas. That is what hits us so hard and stops us worshipping indoors with each other. There are those signs of recovery. We had a wedding in St. David's back in June. We had a baptism there the other day, all socially distanced. And there's a wedding penciled in for Llanillid in August as well. So get in there. We're getting there. But it's you see people singing on terraces, you know, or you see people in the pub sort of ignoring all the rules. It can be quite annoying. So we're getting closer, but we're not quite there yet. With ministry areas, we had our icebreaker evening the other day for the ministry area. It was really good fun to be gathered with people from all across the ministry area. We had a bit of supper, and we explored how much we have in common and the possibilities for the future. Somebody was really excited that Llanillid, there is a church in this ministry area with a field. What can we do with a field? Interesting when new eyes look at things, isn't it? I made a video. I've made a page on the website, and on that website you can see some of the stuff that we did that evening. A video where each of the churches in turn, you can see it in its geographical context. Also, there was a quiz where we asked 12 questions of each of the areas and then put the answers up. Both of those things I've put on a new ministry area page that I put on our church website. Go and have a look. As ever, myself and Rev Glenda, we're always at the end of the phone, or you can sort of email us. You know, you can, we'll stand on your doorstep. We're allowed to come in for compassionate reasons now. You know, if you need a call, if you need a chat, do ask. Many of you have said, oh, I thought about ringing, but stop thinking and start doing. You know, do it for each other as well. And if you know anybody that isn't electronically connected and can't watch these podcasts, but would like the words of these podcasts, let us know. Let Judy know in particular, and we'll send out to you the words that you can be involved. You can hear the weekly message, even though you can't sort of access it electronically. Okie dokie. For today, the Bible reading is going to be read by Mr. Paul Booth. Who is he? Well, he is the he's the Church in Wales Vision Lead. Get it right. Vision Lead. He's been employed by the Church in Wales to spend the next few years making sure the Church in Wales sticks to its vision, which includes ministry areas. And there's a substantial amount of money and effort going into this. Paul came the other night to the ministry area icebreaker, and he had a great time. And so I thought, well, we'll put him on the screen today. So he is going to read this morning's reading from Mark chapter 6 for us.
Hello, I'm Paul, and I'm the Vision Programme Manager with the Diocese of Llandaff, spending much of my time at the moment supporting the development of ministry areas. Our reading today is from Mark 6, beginning at verse 14. The death of John. King Herod heard of all this, for by this time the name of Jesus was on everyone's lips. He said, "This has to be John the Baptizer come back from the dead. That's why he's able to work miracles." Others said, "No, it's Elijah." Others said, "He's a prophet, just like one of the old-time prophets." But Herod wouldn't budge. "It's John. Sure enough, I cut off his head, and now he's back alive." Herod was the one who had ordered the arrest of John, put him in chains, and sent him to prison at the nagging of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. For John had provoked Herod by naming his relationship with Herodias adultery. Herodias, smouldering with hate, wanted to kill him, but didn't dare because Herod was in awe of John. Convinced that he was a holy man, he gave him special treatment. Whenever he listened to him, he was miserable with guilt, and yet he couldn't stay away. Something in John kept pulling him back. But a portentous day arrived when Herod threw a birthday party, inviting all the brass and blue bloods in Galilee. Herodias' daughter entered the banquet hall and danced for the guests. She dazzled Herod and the guests. The king said to the girl, "Ask me anything. I'll give you anything you want." Carried away, he kept on, "I swear I'll split my kingdom with you if you say so." She went back to her mother and said, "What should I ask for?" "Ask for the head of John the Baptizer." Excited, she ran back to the king and said, "I want the head of John the Baptizer served up on a platter, and I want it now." That sobered the king up fast, but unwilling to lose face with his guests, he caved in and let her have her wish. The king sent the executioner off to the prison with orders to bring back John's head. He went, cut off John's head, brought it back on a platter, and presented it to the girl, who gave it to her mother. When John's disciples heard about this, they came and got the body and gave it a decent burial.
Thank you for that, Paul. Here's the thought for the week. I have a simple little line that I want to hang this week's thought around. Here it comes, okay? It may seem like it, but it is not the case that God is not aware and God does not care. I'll say that again. It may seem like it, but it's not the case that God is not aware and that God does not care. Let me give you some background as to why I want to share that with you today. A few days ago, I was sat outside the Princess of Wales Hospital in Bridgend. I was sat on the grassy bank opposite the main entrance, catching some rays. I was sat on the bank as it was a sunny day, and it was too hot to sit in the car. It wasn't too hot, right? Not saying that, you know me. But it was too hot to sit in the car. I was there watching the world go by, not because I like to park up in strange places, but because my wife was inside in fracture clinic having her arm examined. Having taken a tumble late in the evening, 2 days before, and consequently spending a night in the A&E department, getting to know her partners in sickness, she was back at the hospital being examined by the real bone doctor, not the A&E bone doctor. She came out with the glorious news that they could not be sure what the x-rays showed and to come back in another week. When you watch the medical shows on the telly, they always seem to know with just the slightest glance at an x-ray what is going on deep in people's bodies. But the reality is, it's not always the case in our day-to-day real world. In my mind, I was beginning to wonder why God had not caught her before the tumble, or why he had not cleared the A&E department for her arrival, or why he had not given this bone doctor x-ray vision, if you pardon the pun, to be able to provide a definitive diagnosis. About to begin to wallow, I began to reflect that it may seem like it, but it's not the case, that God is not aware and that God does not care. Also, I have been called upon to preside at a funeral in a few weeks' time of a family I know from my days as a curate. I buried Mum 10 years ago when she was 59, but now her daughter has died aged 40. Mum had had cancer off and on through her life, and there was time at the end for her to say her goodbyes and ready herself to meet Jesus. You can talk yourself into the fact that 59 is a decent lifespan, especially when having to deal with cancer, but aged 40, that's another thing. And when it appears that it was after a routine medical operation where something just went wrong, and also when you learn that 2 children now are without a mum, it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. There's no easy answers, and it's easy to see God as the bad guy. The truth, though, which is hard to stomach with the circumstances in front of you, though, is it may seem like it, but it is not the case that God is not aware and that God does not care. I've got 4 children. We have a family holiday planned for soon, and currently we're not sure who's going to be there. After getting this far in the pandemic, we've just had 2 of them appear to come through periods of self-isolation due to contact with people who've caught COVID, and one of them has started to display symptoms since of the dreaded COVID-19. We get Psalm 19 as Christians, don't we? Which says, "Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling." But here we are with COVID-19 at the door, and you can begin to think, Lord, you are in control of everything. Why can't you keep COVID-19 out so we can all go on holiday together? And again, wallowing is so tempting, but it may seem like it, but it is not the case that God is not aware and that God does not care. I keep repeating the line, not because I'm super spiritual or want to play down some of the stuff that people have to deal with in life, but because I've read the whole Bible from end to end, and I've walked with God properly for 28 years, and I know his provision. Take today's gospel reading, where we hear of the senseless death of John the Baptist. He's done nothing wrong. He stood up for truth, and for that the king lobbed him in jail. In jail, he had the favour of the king, who found him fascinating. Herod just wanted to listen to him. Then the king had a couple of ales too many, which saw him making stupid, drunken promises that he should have been man enough to backtrack on, but backtrack he did not, and an innocent young man is beheaded. It could be so easy just to rail at God, and when we read around this gospel snippet, we see that it even took the wind out of Jesus' sails. The first thing he wanted to do when he heard was get off to a quiet place to have a think and a pray. Out of context, this is a God who is negligent, but, the whole truth of the Bible is, it may seem like it, but it is not the case, that God is not aware and that God does not care. I don't know what you are going through at the moment. It may be a time of joy and peace and ease. Take it. It may be a time of sadness and pain and effort. I hear you. I hear you. Whatever season it is, enjoy the good bits, weather the tough bits, and keep close these words. It may seem like it, but it is not the case that God is not aware and that God does not care. We're not there yet, but on the other side, there will be no more pain, and all will be explained. Till then, we've got to hold on. Right, some questions for you, for as ever, to help us to ponder the beheading of John the Baptist, current circumstances. Number 1. You ever been laid up for a few weeks due to broken bones? Have you ever sort of, bang, suddenly, a broken bone, you can't do anything? Have you ever been laid up for a few weeks due to broken bones? Number 2, have you ever had to be close to an untimely bereavement? Just didn't see it come in, bang, it happened. You know, the confusion and everything. You ever had to be close to an untimely bereavement? Number 3, you ever wonder if the world is going to get through COVID-19? There's all these promises, we're going to open everything back up, and then the infections are going up, you know? Do you ever wonder if the world is going to get through COVID-19? Number 3. And number 4, are you able to share this week's thought, even if you don't feel like it? Are you able to say to people, hey, you know, it's a bit rough, but God does care? Are you able to share this week's thought, even if you don't feel like it? Be careful with feelings. There we are, 4 questions for you. And what to sing? Well, in context, there are more reasons to sing praises to God than to wallow. So let's sing something uplifting, something that takes this context and reminds us. 10,000 Reasons by Matt Redman, you know, which says, you know, whatever comes, we're going to praise you, because one day, you know, we'll be in heaven where 10,000 days is nothing. 10,000 Reasons by Mr. Matt Redman. To finish with, the prayer, here it comes, hands together, close your eyes. Dear God, thank you that it may seem like it, but it is not the case, that you are not aware and that you do not care. Help us to keep the faith when it seems like everything is falling apart. Amen. Amen. All right, peeps. Keep an eye on the social media pages and the website for the new schedule with all the different extra things we're doing, extra communions, outdoor services. When we can change more things, we will change more things. I'm sorry if it seems like there's not enough, but we have to sort of remember that, you know, myself or Reverend Glenda may need to isolate at any time, and though she's priested now, you know, we've got to be able to run the parish with maybe just one of us or none of us. So keep an eye. See you wherever you pop up, whether it be electronic like this or in the flesh. Keep safe, everybody. See you soon.
Hey, you all lead this today, okay? Here we go. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. And bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul, I worship his holy name. And sing with everything today. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. We'll still sing. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, and worship His holy name. And sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing and singing and singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Come on! Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, and worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. You're so good, you're so good, you're so kind. You're so merciful, you're so majestic, you're so great. So many reasons to worship Him. We give you glory, we give you glory. We worship your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. But still my soul will sing your praise unending, yes. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Oh Jesus,